Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a conversation with. And today I am joined by a very, very special guest. I say that all the time, but it is so true. All of my guests are so special, and today is no exception. Today I am joined by the one and only the Evette Vargas. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the resume is long, the resume is extensive. She has done so much. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of what she has accomplished over the years and her long and stellar career in the film industry. Evette Vargas is an award winning writer, director, and producer featured in Forbes magazine and named by the New York Times as an artist to watch. Evette has produced digital content for Amazon, MTV, Bravo, DirecTV, and interactive media for Fast and Furious, Lord of the Rings trilogy. See, we could stop right there because that's my favorite. Right there.
Lord of the Rings
Madonna.
trilogy, huh? Got
Oh
it.
my gosh, I am such a Tolkien fan. It's unbelievable.
There you
She's
go.
also done work for Madonna, the Wu-Tang Clan. She's also executive produced, wrote, directed her digital films, Dark Prophet, starring Henry Rollins, which is in contention for 2 Emmys. Now, I don't want to give too much away because I want her to share with you, the things that she's done over the years. But once again, welcome to a conversation with. I'm your humble host, Floyd Marshall Jr. And again, I am joined by the one and only Evette Vargas. And she has created something that is absolutely amazing on Clubhouse called New Hollywood. And it is an entire movement. And we're going to get into that. So, Evette, welcome to the show. How are you?
My goodness, Floyd, thank you for that beautiful introduction. I am doing well, recuperating. As I mentioned to you just before we went live, I literally just got back from a film festival. I Last year I wrote, directed, and produced a proof of concept short for a 1 hour television series that I had developed, and we are in the midst of our festival run. So I literally just got back from Minnesota, Duluth, Minnesota, where we won an incredible award. It was the Innovator Award for
Wow.
myself and for Confessions. Yeah, it was really something. So I'm recuperating. So this explains the glasses and the wet hair is just because I literally just took a shower because I am catching up on my life. But I am so thrilled to be here. I am so thrilled to be here. And this has been in the works, I know, for quite some time.
Yes.
And again, I just want to throw you some flowers. I'm a huge fan of you, everything that you do, your respect, your grace, and your integrity. It just means so much, especially during these times. And again, I'm honored to be here, Floyd. Thank you for asking me.
Thank you so much. Well, I was wondering why it took me so long. One day I'm sitting there, I said, "Wait a minute, you mean to tell me you haven't asked Yvette to be on this show?" As many times as I've sat on your stage and been in your rooms on Clubhouse and just listened to yourself and so many of the amazing guests that you've brought through, and I'm saying, why haven't I had her on the show? And I guess if I'm being perfectly honest, I was a little nervous asking because, ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand who this is sitting on stage with us. She's doing quite a bit. And, she just mentioned the fact that, it took some doing to put this together because she's so busy. So when you get someone of this caliber, you have to learn how to be very flexible with your interviewing because as you know, we normally do our interviews on Thursday, but today is Tuesday and here we are. But it is what it is. This is Hollywood. But let's get this interview started because this is not about me. This is all about you. So, Yvette, how did you get started in the business?
It's a great question. Thank you for asking. Well, I mean, Floyd, to be honest, I grew up drawing, painting, and writing, so I was just always a visual storyteller. So that's my initial foray into artistry, and storytelling was through creating artwork, and also through writing. And all of that led to me going to art school. I went to FIT in New York. I'm from New York and New Jersey originally. I went to FIT, which is the Fashion Institute of Technology, where I studied fashion design and graphic design, minored in graphic design. During this time, I also was DJing. I also used to do street art. I have my own graffiti tag.
Oh, wow.
Yes, yes, yes. So I was just always visual storyteller, and art was my thing. and as I mentioned, so I studied fashion design first, minored in graphic design. Then I ended up working in the fashion industry in New York. I loved the work, but I hated the people. And I knew that I just for the rest of my life I just couldn't work in fashion. Although I was doing quite well, I was working
Mhm,
for
mhm,
Donna Karan and Calvin Klein, but I really had a yearning, burning desire to tell stories. So I decided to go back to school, and I just did some research on NYU, New York University Tisch School of the Arts. Of course, it's one of the best film schools in the world. Actually, I don't think anyone would argue that.
mhm,
And interestingly enough, they were offering a summer course that was accredited class, and it was like literally I was on the last days of registering for that, but I went down, so I had to go down. I had to go down to the office. Literally, if I was going to get in, I had to go down to the office. I couldn't even do it online because it was just way too late. So I had to go down and literally beg someone to let me in. So I did that. And when I did, the registrar, they basically said, well, listen, if you enjoy this class, if you do well in this class, you really should apply now to attend the fall semester
mhm.
as a full-time student, because if you really do love this class and filmmaking is your thing for you, then you're going to have to wait a whole other year to apply as a full-time student. So I took the gentleman's advice. I applied, and lo and behold, the first day of that summer class, which was incredible, amazing, I knew that I was home. I knew I was in the right place. I knew I was doing the right thing. And when I came home that day, I received my acceptance letter from NYU
Oh, wow.
for the film. Yeah, so it was moving beyond words, and I just knew that somehow I needed to make this happen. So I started, of course, saving money, and then also I ended up getting a scholarship, which was
Mm,
pretty damn fantastic. So that was my initial foray into formal storytelling, because I was also producing music videos and everything at this time. I very much into music and just really combining all of the mediums that I was passionate about. But yeah, so then I ended up going to NYU Tisch, and my senior thesis film ended up winning the best of NYU. It got me a lot of buzz, and that's what got me out to Los Angeles. So that was how I initially got into the business,
mhm,
per se. And then once I landed here in Los Angeles, I started working at the digital departments at the studios. Universal, Disney, Sony, they all have digital departments. And at the time, I was creating digital content for television series, films, comic books, theme park attractions, music, video games. You pretty much name it, whatever was happening at the studio at the time that they wanted to promote in a digital fashion. That's basically what I was creating, and I got very, very good at that. And then over time, I became a multi-platform storyteller, where I was now expanding a story, telling a story across different mediums and platforms. And then I became revered for that, because there were very few people at the time that even knew
mhm,
what that was. So then I ended up starting my own digital media production company with my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband,
mhm.
and we built that company up very successfully. Now the studios and production companies and even artists themselves became clients of our company, and again, creating incredible storytelling, narrative, interactive experiences, all in the digital space to promote a piece of intellectual property. But what happened, Floyd, over several years between really building up the company and doing all of the client work, I just didn't have time to tell my own stories anymore. And this was around 2006, 2007. So I knew that I needed to make a change, and television had reached a very prominent level of storytelling, what was possible in terms of the television medium. Because this was the time when the Sopranos was just going off air. 6 Feet Under was also winding down. There were just some really incredible incredible series that, again, had reached great heights of storytelling in television. So I really wanted to study television, long form television. I had always loved it, but I never formally studied it.
Right.
And I was very, very, very interested in television. So I decided to go back to school, and I ended up going to UCLA grad school, and specifically UCLA because at the time, through their screenwriting major, they offered a 2-year concentration in television called the showrunner track. So I got into that, thankfully, and then I just flourished there. I was always very much a developer, someone who would create, and also very steeped in the entire process of filmmaking and storytelling. So I just really flourished there, building out a whole arsenal of television series. And then what happened before I graduated, which was in 2012, my undergrad, NYU Tisch, they have a thriving alumni here in LA. And every year, they have their own digital series lab, the way that Sundance has their digital labs. So, and this is for alumni specifically. And to make a very long story short, I ended up winning that. It was a contest, and it was a 6-month commitment
Mhm.
if you were selected, and it was 10 alumni that were selected, and I ended up winning that. I produced 3 episodes of a web series called Dark Prophet, which you mentioned in the intro, starring Henry Rollins. And yeah, so I ended up winning the NYU competition. The judges were NBC Universal Television executives who really loved the show. So then that led to me getting a production grant from NBC Universal. So I kept making episodes. And then I was invited by, a special Sundance initiative. They have all different kinds. If you've been to Sundance, they have all different kinds of events, all different kinds of programs, initiatives there. So I was invited to present Dark Prophet there, which I did. And there at Sundance, there were direct TV executives who really loved the show. So then that led to me, that led to the show then premiering on direct TV. And did really well in that space. And because it was this digital thing that ended up going to linear television and doing well, the show was nominated for 2 Emmys in the interactive category. I lost the Game of Thrones, but I can live with that. And
I can't. I was runner up to Game of Thrones. Oh,
and I've been working in television ever since, as well as film and many other mediums. I mean, I work in a lot of mediums, VR, comics, but television is mostly the medium that I work in these days. Very much as a developer, a creator. I've sold 7 pitches. I am getting ready to pitch 2 more. So I'm so excited now that the strike is over that I can finally do that. And then I also work in films, and I write, direct, produce. I'm a development, television development executive, and more. But those are mostly the hats that I wear.
wow, wow! As I told you, ladies and gentlemen, the resume is extensive, and we are really only just scratching the surface. But as you were talking about everything that you've done and are still doing, the one thing that struck me, and it's something that you talk about in New Hollywood all the time, is the excuse me, the lack of diversity in certain areas. And as you were talking, I was thinking about the fact that you did all of this as a woman, but more importantly as a Latina woman in
Yes.
a very white male dominated space. So how were you able to navigate and be so successful in an area that is so filled with gatekeepers, especially for people of color?
Yeah. Well, thank you for the question, Floyd. It's it's always been challenging on that front. One of the things that definitely prepared me for the challenges in entertainment in terms of the gatekeeping, especially for people of color. Interestingly enough, I attended an event for a group that I'm a part of. It's called Color Entertainment, which is for people of color, executives and producers of color. And the 2 incredible women who spoke on the panel, one of the things that they said that it's just harder to hire a person of color. It just is. Period. Um, and interestingly enough, I never came into the business thinking about that,
Mhm.
having that mindset. But certainly I have experienced the challenges. So in terms of being prepared for that and dealing for that, I mean, one of the things absolutely I know prepared me for that was that in many of the rooms that I was in prior to working entertainment, I was the only woman, right? That was the only woman, and certainly the only person of color, and the only Latina for sure.
Mm.
I mean, yeah, yeah, because I also worked in entertainment technology. Again, going back to the digital, working in those digital departments, which there's a technical aspect to that. I was absolutely the only person of color in those rooms,
Mm.
and then being a woman on top of it. But that made me stronger, Floyd. I knew that I had to speak up when I had something to say. I knew that I had to speak up. I knew that I had to make myself heard and understood. I needed to be at my absolute best. I could never slack on that. And that prepared me. That absolutely prepared me for then being in entertainment, more specifically entertainment rooms where, again, I was the only woman, the only, woman of color, the only Latina. And you just have to, again, it's really about connecting with people in terms of where they are. I mean, eh, we are, as different as we are, we also, in terms of humanity, we share a lot of similarities. We want the same things, right? We want, um, happiness, for ourselves, for our families, for those that we love. Obviously, we want to be able to earn a fair income so that we can live well, and we want to create the work that we were meant to create, tell those stories. So you have to, for myself, I think really owning that, believing, even if I didn't necessarily believe it at the beginning, but force yourself to believe that you belong.
Mhm.
Definitely force yourself to believe that you belong until you actually believe it. And that comes really quickly. That comes really very, very quickly, because once you start speaking with people and sharing your ideas, and you actually do convince yourself that, yeah, I belong here. I absolutely belong here. I have a lot to give, and it's valuable. So that those kinds of experiences, and having the self belief, Floyd, is certainly what has gotten me through and what continues to get me through.
Hmm. So let's go back to story because you get it honest. Because I was listening to a couple of interviews you had done and talking about your brothers and you and all of you sitting around the dinner table. And one of the things you talk about is story building and world building. And was the emphasis on story and the fact that you had a nice, I guess I'll say, foundation. Was that one of the foundations for you creating Writers Room 50/50? Did that play an integral part in it? The stories that you and your brothers used to tell.
I love that, and thank you so much for for that question. Yeah, I mean, in my family, storytelling was incredibly. It's just incredibly important, and telling the stories of our lives, telling the stories of our days, the funny things, the crazy things, all of that. That's how we share. So it's always been about storytelling, and storytelling about around the dinner table was paramount for sure. In terms of the writers room 50/50, I mean, definitely that experience of growing up with so much of a story influence. I mean, that's absolutely informed my entire life, and um inspired my connection to other humans through story, because that's, again, that was a foundational building block
Mhm.
within my family. But in terms of the writers room 50/50, that actually, which is my foundation, my 501(c)(3) nonprofit foundation, that grew out of my activism in the entertainment
Mm.
business for equity, inclusion,
Oh,
and
okay.
equity. Yes, absolutely. So, and really, really fascinating the way that it actually occurred. So, I mean, I've mentored for many, many years other storytellers. I've just been a very loud voice, certainly at the Writers Guild. I'm also a member of the Producers Guild, the Television Academy, and just in my life, certainly a loud voice about equity, and have always tried to navigate others, share what I've learned with others, and so that we are just prepared for those moments that we could take advantage of in life, right? We work so hard, but you have to be prepared for those moments where you can truly shine. So I had, some of my friends had just been pushing me forever to teach, teach a couple of classes that I would mentor, people about, like, for instance, pitching, which is a just integral part of success
Mhm.
in Hollywood, and as a storyteller, and it's an art, it's a craft, it's a skill set that you develop. So I was urged to teach that, and then also writing a television pilot class. But I never had time, Floyd, for any of that. But the insistence was there, so I finally decided to do it, and this was the summer of 2019. So I developed two labs. One was pitching the television pilot, which was a six week lab, and that ended with literally the students pitching their shows to an executive, an executive, a television development executive, as well, or a producer.
Mhm.
And then I developed another lab. This was a 10-week lab, which I was running like a writer's room for writers to, to go through that whole process and write a pilot. So I had committed to doing that in the evenings while I was still working during the day and everything else. And those labs sold out instantly. I mean,
Mm.
like, in a week, both of those labs were sold out. So it was quite inspiring. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I guess there's really a need and interest. But what happened, Floyd, and what was really pivotal here was that 3 weeks into teaching those labs, I started to hear from the industry. I started to hear from producers and managers and agents and executives, friends, who basically wanted me to recommend my alumni.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So I was blown away, first of all, because I was like, I didn't even realize that that's what I was doing, preparing
Mhm.
people for, like, vetting people for these industry gatekeepers, by the way. I was vetting them for the gatekeepers. So I realized at that point, Floyd, that I was actually doing something very important, and that I needed to find a way now to keep it going. So then that's when I started to do all the paperwork that I need to do to then establish the foundation, the Writers Room 50/50. And by the way, those were live labs. This was pre-COVID, and then the foundation was formed in January of 2020. And then obviously we went into COVID, and then we just switched everything over to virtual. So the labs now are held virtually, and it's incredible. We do job placement. We offer 12 labs now. Yeah, we have job placement. There's all different kinds of opportunities that come. So it's education, it's mentorship and fellowship for underrepresented storytellers.
Wow. So you know what? It's interesting. You're getting phone calls from industry people. And when you said that, the first thing that came to my mind was what people are saying about you when you're not in the room. And I think, and just in my humble opinion, the reason that you started getting these phone calls is because, again, of your track record. They knew the quality of your work. And more importantly, they knew how you rolled as far as preparing people. So it really becomes a no-brainer that if you have this particular type of thing, pitching is extremely hard. So here you have these two labs, and you're funneling these talented people through, and you're honing their skills. I think it's a no-brainer that they're going to pick up the phone to call you, because it takes a lot of, I don't even know the word that I'm looking for, but it takes a lot of the messiness out of it, because, well, who is this person? Oh, they went to Evette Vargas's lab. That's a person we'd like to hear pitch. So I think that it is so important that people really build and study this craft, but more importantly, and correct me if I'm wrong, build phenomenal relationships, because I don't think anyone would have picked up the phone if you hadn't established some meaningful relationships with some of those people. Am I right by saying that?
You are absolutely correct, Floyd. You are absolutely correct. I had the relationships. People trusted me when they heard about what I was doing. They reached out. Absolutely. And I do have a very good reputation for pitching. In fact, I would say I have a great reputation for being able to craft very professional pitches, and those that are impactful and land, because again, it is a craft. Pitching is very, very difficult. You have to know what you're doing for sure. You just can't go in there and think you're going to sell a show. So there's a tremendous amount of development work, a tremendous amount of prep work, and also in writing the pitch, they're written a particular way. So yes, Floyd, and thank you for that. It was absolutely based off of the reputation, and then now knowing that I was imparting that information to storytellers of color. So I was literally vetting them for these gatekeepers.
And I can imagine. Well, I'm off my question thing, but this is very interesting. I can only imagine if someone had gone into a pitch session and the executives are sitting at the table and they want to see these people win, but they are so unprepared in how they present it,
Yeah.
how it's written, the way they flesh it out, as you like to talk about the building of the story, um, finding the common ground with everyone sitting in the room. And I know when these people would leave, they would say, wow, if there was only someone who would teach these people how to do this, because the idea was good, the concept was good, but the delivery was horrible.
Yes. Yeah.
And then here you come with your sessions, and they're like, well, so the universe must have been listening. And the same people end up going back with everything tied up neatly and packaged correctly. So, let's talk about that for a second. Again, I'm off my questions, but let's talk about that for a
Okay.
second. Being able to present an idea in such a way that the people that you are talking to are ready to sign on the dotted line saying, this is something that we want to work with. Can you explain a little bit of how that works?
Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of steps ultimately to get there. But in terms of when you're going into pitch and certainly preparing your pitch, writing your pitch, developing that show so you know it inside out, so that when you are asked questions, that you can answer those questions. You just really have to know it, and therefore, because you know your series so well, now you have confidence. Now you have confidence because you know it. But one of the things that's difficult about pitching is that you need to deliver it as if you're having a conversation. So that's why
Mm.
you need to write that pitch first. I memorize it. I memorize it. Some people, I mean, people have their own different techniques. I memorize my pitch, and then I just know it so well that I can just speak to it. But in terms of getting that green light, right? That it's getting that green light, getting it across that finish line. I mean, it's very, very difficult to sell television series, and really, you need a team, Floyd. You need, if you're not an established showrunner yourself, you need to align yourself with a showrunner for the most part. Sometimes you'll hear executives or others say, well, we'll bring on the showrunner. That's so rare, Floyd. That's really so rare when that happens. Um, most of the time, you have better luck if you're going in with all of your guns. So it's a killer team. Yourself again. If you're not a showrunner yet, bring on someone, bring someone onto your team that will do that. Or also, the ideal situation is for this established executive producer slash showrunner to come on board as a supervising executive producer, because now basically you will both run the show, right? Like,
Mhm.
they're going to mentor you through that process. They will, certainly be in command, just with that first season, but they're going to be mentoring you through that process. So that's the ideal situation. And it's certainly hard to do, but I really want to give everyone advice of what is the best scenario to literally go in and pitch a show with. So great creative. I mean, the show has to be great, period. Just has to be excellent. The competition is way too high. So the show has to be excellent. your pitch that you write, your delivery, that also has to be exceptional, and it has to check a number of boxes. And some of the big boxes, they're of course the team. Who is this team that's going to now create this show and get it across the finish line? Because with a series, it's all about episodes, right? It's not just a film. It's long form storytelling. So who's going to deliver these episodes, these quality episodes? Who is going to what is the team that's going to deliver this? So that's why the team is critical. And then also in terms of the show itself, I mean, it has to be a great idea, for sure, a great idea that is unique, but also very relatable on a human level, on a character level. The themes definitely should be universal. Absolutely, a distinct point of view and even a distinct slice of life, but um, it still needs to be relatable on a universal level, so that as many people as possible can hopefully connect to it. And then, in addition to that, what is critically important is the story engine. That this is what drives the story forward. Again, it's long form storytelling. What are you mining as a creator, as a storyteller, that's going to keep this story going? And that story engine, which is really, it's really about the biggest conflict. What is the greatest conflict of this show that is so large that's going to keep the story going? So that has to be strong, because again, you're selling a series, you're not selling a pilot. And so those are just some of the key factors. And then the most important one always is, it's about you. You're always pitching. Half of the sale is you and your team, and the other half is the creative.
Hmm.
So in terms of yourself, why are you telling the story? What is your personal connection to the story? And by the way, it has to be an emotional connection. It cannot be connection. It cannot be an intellectual connection. It has to be emotional. So those are some of the big checks, um, that you want to incorporate into a pitch. There's much more, but certainly you need those for sure.
Wow, wow, that is absolutely well. Look, ladies and gentlemen, you just got a mini master class. So I hope that when you listen to this again, you'll go to this section. If this is something that you decide that you want to do as you grow in your craft, that one day you want to, be in a room with a bunch of executives, this is definitely something that you need to, get in order. But let's talk about the strike for a second. The WGA strike. Thank God it's over after
It
five and a half months.
it is officially
And
over. Officially,
wow,
yeah.
officially over. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes.
Now, Yvette, how did that affect what you were doing, and um, how, if any, pivots did you have to make in your ongoing and upcoming projects? Because I know you've got quite a bit going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, absolutely, it affected myself and my peers and the industry overall tremendously. I mean, just the city of Los Angeles alone, the estimate is that it's lost $5 billion between both strikes, and clearly the Writers Guild strike was 148 days.
Hmm.
So, and obviously the actor strike is still going, but their negotiations seem to be going well. I feel strongly that the actors strike is going to be over soon, which would be fantastic. But everyone has been affected, Floyd. Everyone in the business has been affected. So in terms of for myself personally, obviously I couldn't be hired as a professional writer to work on any Hollywood projects, any Hollywood productions. I couldn't, I couldn't write. So that was major. So that certainly hindered just work there. Fortunately for myself, I do other things.
Hmm.
Like directing, like producing, like developing. So I was able to wear those hats, which was wonderful. I am one of the blessed people that was able to work during the strike. So so that was fantastic. But and then also another job, wonderful job that I had, was show running the writers room for a brand new narrative video game on the scale of The Last of Us. So yeah.
That
so
is, oh,
so I
okay.
was I was able to do that for 10 weeks, which was pretty damn fantastic. And video games are not, the WJ doesn't cover video games, so that's why I was able to do it. That was just absolutely fantastic. I ran it like a writer's room. Very proud of the narrative that we created, and just very excited about the future of that intellectual property. So that was something that I was able to do. And I'm also, Floyd, and I'll say it here. I literally just started. This was something else that came out of the strike, where I literally just launched a full service production services company,
Oh,
from
wow.
pre-production, production, post-production, all stages. Like, we literally can take a project from start to finish, and produce it for a filmmaker, for a client, for a brand, for a nonprofit. Just fill in the blank there. And also, we're offering a la carte services. So if you need a budget done, we can do that. If you need casting, we can do that. Of course, writing, directing, producing, whatever it may be, marketing, distribution, deck design, all of that is under the full service production services company. So I literally just launched that with my best friend, and we're thrilled. The company is called Indigo Rain, and that's REIGN. So it's Indigo Rain .film. If anyone wants to check it out, we only have a coming soon page up. But you certainly, there's a form there. If you have a project, please, please feel free to reach out. We're super excited. So that was also something else that came out of the strike, Floyd, because and I think many storytellers feel this way, is that you can't be beholden to Hollywood. You can't be beholden to one avenue of storytelling. Storytelling is vast and diverse, and that we do need to explore as many lanes as possible. And that I'm a huge believer in greenlighting yourself. So this is certainly further. Not only am I greenlighting myself, I'm able to now greenlight others. That have projects. So those are some of the ways that I've been impacted, and still wrapping my brain around all of it. And certainly, it's a whole new industry, it's a whole new world, a whole new time, Floyd, and we're the ones that are now creating this next chapter. And I really do believe that as we move forward as storytellers, is that we cannot allow ourselves to be in that position again, in terms of taking, accepting deal terms that are not to our benefit. We have to have the courage to say no, Floyd, when we are not being respected, when we're not being paid, compensated
Absolutely.
properly, when we are not able to tell our own stories. We have to be, we have to have the courage to say no, because the more that we do that, that's literally how we're exercising our power.
Wow, wow. And you know what, that kind of leads me into my next question, because you're very big on technology. You created your own NFT, your own proof of concept that you spoke about for your film, Confessions. Can you tell us a little bit about Confessions, and why did you decide to create NFTs to go along with the film? And I'm just going to ask this question as well, while since we're doing it. And with technology and the ability to create amazing worlds like you did with Confessions, I'm sorry. Do you think it's necessary for creators to pursue a career in Hollywood, or do you see it more as an advantage of filmmakers taking more of a hybrid approach? Like you just talked about, the fact that they shouldn't be beholden to Hollywood, but you should still be able to
Great.
work within the system, but have something outside of the system to be sustainable.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, absolutely. I think that we need to take advantage of every opportunity, and also, in addition to that, be able to create our own lane. So this is the time for that. I think, I do believe that it's a very strong time for the creator economy, right? Taking advantage of being a creator and utilizing all of the tools that are out there, various platforms, different distribution opportunities, as well as, of course, work with Hollywood and do your damnedest to work on your own terms. And that's certainly that's what I'm advocating for. That's what I'm fighting for, and I'm looking forward to being able to have a voice in what new Hollywood or a new Hollywood looks like and how it behaves.
So why did you decide to create an NFT for your film?
Oh, okay. So it was going back to being a multi-platform storyteller. I am, very much. I've just always really seen that there are different entry points into a story, and that the audience is everywhere, Floyd. So meet them where they're at. So with this digital collectible collection, which and specifically the artwork is trading cards, um, that each one of them features a tattoo, and the meaning of that tattoo. It's a symbol, but uh, the meaning of that symbol, which basically my main character, the protagonist, his entire body is covered with these symbols,
Mhm.
and all of these symbols, they mean something, of course, in the narrative, and they're a mystery to him. He has to decipher them. Ultimately, those symbols are a key for him, leading him back to his own redemption, and he's trying to get back to heaven because he's a fallen angel. So the trading cards, each one of them represents one of those symbols that is tattooed on his body with its meaning. And I really thought that that would be a fun way for audience members to be able to now personally interact and engage more with the story and with the narrative by collecting these trading card NFTs.
And I actually have one.
I know you do, yeah.
I have one. I said, I am not going to not get my NFT. So
Yeah.
I am the proud owner of a
Mm-hmm.
Confessions NFT. And I'm so excited about that. And that's so great that you are someone who really thinks outside of the box, because in my humble opinion, you're approaching this as you've always done, as a complete and total business.
Mm,
Sometimes filmmakers get stuck into, well, I just want to create films. That's great. What are you going to do with it after you create it?
exactly.
You
Exactly.
need something to do with it. And with NFTs and so many other things, it just opens so many things up. But let's talk about New Hollywood.
Sure.
I love New Hollywood. And New Hollywood is basically a movement.
Yes.
Did you see it growing into what it has now become from where it initially started? Because where it is now is just absolutely amazing.
Floyd, I mean, I had a vision, and certainly I had a hope that it would become what it is. But it has surpassed. It has surpassed what I thought it could be, certainly at the time. I mean, now I have tremendous aspirations and hopes for New Hollywood as we continue to grow and build it out. In fact, Floyd, we're going to have our first event, our mixer, our first networking event on November 1st in Hollywood.
Oh,
Yes, I know. In Los Angeles. I'm sorry. It actually, there will be more. There will be more in other places, but there was just an opportunity. I had spoken it, into out into the universe, and put
mhm.
and made it, spoken into existence. And literally the next day, someone had offered me an opportunity for a live networking event, to co-brand with New Hollywood. I was like, oh my God, well, this is the answer. This is the answer. So that's going to be November 1st in Los Angeles. So if anyone is listening and they'd like to attend and they're in Los Angeles, please, reach out to me on my socials, or even through Clubhouse. Would be fantastic. And now, I'm in the midst of, it's just early, but we're getting off the ground building a database, a network for everyone to be able to connect, and be listed there, so that people, a searchable database, so that people can not only find each other, but employers can find us, et cetera, et cetera.
So you actually started a new podcast based on New Hollywood. And I remember, I think it was last year, a little longer than that, I had actually asked you that. I said, are you going to turn this into a podcast? Because every time I would listen, I would say, that would be such a great podcast because of the amount of masterclass information that comes through New Hollywood.
Hmm. Yeah.
And here we are.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yes.
can you talk about that?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So it's a team of us that absolutely we have been producing the New Hollywood podcast. And the New Hollywood podcast, basically, we have three different sources of where the content is coming from.
Mhm.
Obviously, our Clubhouse show every single week, which those episodes are recorded, as you know. So so basically editing those and repurposing those episodes, which, and I agree with you, Floyd, there's just incredible information every single week. I know that there's something of value there every single week. And it's why people come back. And it's why the community continues to grow, because there's definitely value. So that's one source of again content for the New Hollywood podcast. Then the second resource is literally recording a podcast with interviews and just different discussions, etc. And then the third is featuring community members. So that effort basically is where we will interview two community members in a 30-minute episode. So that's something that's coming. So those three different kinds of content will all be content that is available under the New Hollywood podcast. So that's all coming. It's all in the works, Floyd.
Wow, that is so exciting. And it's always a treat to just sit and listen. Um, Clubhouse has changed quite a bit,
Absolutely.
but the one constant is Wednesday
Mm.
at what is it? 3 p.m. Eastern time.
Yes,
That is
3
a constant. That is a
3 p.m.
constant. 3 p.m.
Eastern.
Eastern time, 12
Yes,
p.m. Pacific. So if you're
yes,
listening to this and you are a creative, let me take that back. If you are listening to this and you are in any type of business, I don't care if it's film related or not, this is a room that you need to be in, because success always leaves clues and success is transferable. So even if you're not a filmmaker, there are people in this room and who Evette interviews that run successful businesses. It's just great to sit down and listen to how they actually do those things. But we're getting close to the end, and I had so many more questions. You're going to have to come back because I
I
could
will
be
come back.
here.
I will.
Oh gosh,
My pleasure to come back.
yeah, I could be here for another 2 hours. How important, speaking of New Hollywood, how important is allyship in the fight, or the I guess we'll call it a fight, to make old Hollywood more open to real change, as an industry, especially in the C suites?
Allyship is critical. I mean, without allyship, it won't happen. It certainly won't happen in our lifetime. Sadly, because the higher that you go up that C suite, the less color, right, we tend to see.
Mhm.
And so, that's why for anyone that has a seat at that table, allyship is just paramount. If we want to see change, it really is about those decision makers, Floyd, those that have the green light power, those that have the influence. Change is in their hands. It absolutely is in old Hollywood. So going back to relationships, and just being able to nurture those relationships and influence those relationships with those that do have that power, that do have that green lighting ability, that is all critical. Those relationships, that kind of allyship, there are ripple effects to all of that. And therefore, as I was speaking earlier, with the advice of pitching in terms of going in with the best team possible, even in terms of our teams, make sure that those teams are inclusive, make sure that those teams represent the kind of Hollywood that we want to see, because that also helps, right? That also helps with getting something ultimately through the door. Well, where you have the veterans on the team, as well as the newbie, which may be yourself, but that you yourself are being inclusive as you're going through that door. I think that that's also a really strong strategy, and also shows who you are, and how you play. Um, So I think, again, that's really critical. So, and then once you are in that driver's seat yourself, make sure not to forget how you got there, all the shoulders that you are standing on. Leave that door open behind you. Be a champion. Fight for what you can. What gets really tricky is that there's just so much fear in the industry that people are always fearing losing their jobs. So they're not necessarily fighting for everything, just because they can't, right? Or they feel that they can't. And most of the time they really can't.
Mhm.
Because if you're that person that's always tapping on someone's shoulder, it's like, wait, shouldn't we be doing this? Shouldn't we be doing this? Shouldn't we be doing this? You get known for that. And then sometimes they don't want to keep you around, either, although you're telling them about the right thing, to do. But I mean, again, choosing your battles wisely, being the champion, being in someone's ear constantly in terms of what is the what's authentic, what is correct, reminding those in the C-suite about those human connections and just those universal themes, regardless of what the people may look like within that story. But when something is universal, that there's an audience. There really is an audience for it. So it's a lot of work and responsibility, but we all have a role to play here. We all have to play our part. uh, and I mean, certainly, of course, like, the industry is more inclusive than it certainly has been decades,
Mhm.
decades before us, decades past. But at the same time, Floyd, there's just so much more work to be done, and even with gains, we lose gains also. If we kept our gains, that'd be fantastic. But we also lose gains, so we have to be really vigilant and continue to all do our part.
Hmm. And absolutely true. So I thought I was done, but I cannot let you go without asking this one question. You have worked with one of my most favorite people and one person that I love talking to and having on this show, the Angel.
Yes,
Absolutely love her.
of
What
course.
was it like working with her?
Oh,
Because
she's
she is so
fabulous.
smooth, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, she is. She's incredibly smooth. She's fabulous. Honestly, it was effortless, Floyd. It was just effortless. And this is what happens when you really connect with someone,
Hmm.
both personally and creatively. And our initial experience was creatively. That's how we started working. Of course, on a human level, certainly there was enough chemistry there for sure that we knew that we were really fond of each other, had tremendous respect. But when we started working together, it was just so much chemistry. It really was just effortless, and we were on the same page, and it was just really wonderful to continue to push each other and elevate the work, and that's what it's all about. So she was just a great joy to work with, as both a composer, and she's also an executive producer on the Confessions, a proof of concept short. So it was it was a blessing, just an absolute blessing.
Beautiful. So what's next?
What's next? Alrighty. Well, as I mentioned, I've got the pitch, the television series, the Confessions television series. That's next for sure.
Oh, wow.
And now it's just a matter of strategically going out to pitch it at the right time, because the dust is just settling, Floyd. There's so much change. The networks are all thinking about. They're looking at what they have. They're looking at what they no longer want to have. Excuse me.
Oh, bless you.
Thank you. New mandates, etc. So it's there's definitely a lot of research to be done here, just in terms of the timing and everything. So I mean, there are some executives that are basically saying, don't come and pitch us until next year, because we're getting everything ready. Plus the fact that, how much budget are they going to be spending now until the end of the year? So there are a lot of questions, and that's, I mean, naturally, those are the questions that will always happen after a strike. So that's what we're looking at. But definitely the Confessions television series. And then also in November, what is dropping are 6 interactive animated episodes of Confessions. This is yeah, I'm extremely excited about this. It's a company that I've been working with called Serialify. So it's the word serial, IFY. So serialify.com. You can check them out. So we've been producing a series with them, an animated series with them, interactive, and that those episodes will be dropping at the end of November. So I've been working on that. Very, very, very excited about that. I also have a feature film that I wrote before the strike, and so now I may have found some financing for that. So I'm working as yeah, working on that film, and then also there's another feature film that I'm co-writing at the moment, and a whole bunch of other things. But those are some of the things. Those are some of the initial what is next type of things that I'm working on.
So where can people find you on social media?
Sure, sure. I'm pretty much just about everywhere, and my handle is at the Evette Vargas, and that's Evette with an E, so it's at the EVETTE Vargas VARGAS. So at the Evette Vargas, pretty much everywhere. IG, X, TikTok. I'm on Facebook, and also, of course, Clubhouse. There, I'm at Evette Vargas, just because I didn't need the there. But yeah, certainly every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, I am hosting our new Hollywood show. So we would love to see you there. And then please, please, please become a member of our new Hollywood community. You can go to our website, which is newhollywoodmovement.com, and join our movement. You want to be part of our database, you want to be part of our movement. We're really up to some great things. So oh, and I'm on LinkedIn, of course. On LinkedIn, I have actually a very large community there also. So absolutely, you can find me at Evette Vargas on on LinkedIn. So so follow me there as well.
Okay, well, Evette, first of all, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Again, I know how absolutely crazy busy you are, so I truly appreciate you carving out some time to come and speak with my audience, because I love bringing them people that always add value, and you've definitely added some value today. And I love having people such as yourself on, because I've learned something today. So it's been a master class for me as well. So again, thank you so much for being here. I will see you in the room tomorrow.
Yes.
Because I'm always there on Wednesday. Even if I don't say anything, I'm sitting in the audience listening. But
Yes.
ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining myself and the amazing and comparable Evette Vargas of New Hollywood, and so much more. And again, I hope you listen to this episode a couple of times, because as you know, with anything like reading a book, you always get something new every time you listen. So thank you again for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for
And
having
if
me.
you,
It's a great pleasure.
oh, you're so welcome. I'm so glad you came. And ladies and gentlemen, if you like the episode, please follow me on YouTube, Floyd Marshall Jr. Follow the podcast on Apple and wherever else you can find it. My manager always says, you didn't tell him to follow you. So follow me on YouTube, follow the podcast, so you can get phenomenal content, and you can get to listen to people like Evette Vargas, because she is definitely coming back, because there are so many, like I said, I had so many more questions that I wanted to ask you, but I said, you know what? I got to keep it to an hour, because she's very busy and I don't want to monopolize all of her time. So Evette, thank you so much. And
Thank you. This was fabulous.
Thank you. And I will end this as I end on my podcast, just by telling you, love this like a hobby, but above all else, treat it like a business. Everyone have an absolutely phenomenal night.
Thank you.
You're welcome.